Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. Man, this year the podcasts this year are great. I'm taping 2 today that are coming out. Well, as you're hearing them, mind-blowing things you all wanted to hear about, brand new topics, and it's fantastic. So join the Patreon also, folks. You can join it for free, and when you join it for free, I do once a month. I have a Zoom where you can come in, practice your readings on other people, do whatever mediumship, whatever you're trying to do, come in, practice in a safe space, or you can just get readings. There's plenty of people there who want to give readings, or you can sit in the gallery with me, and I do one-question readings for everybody and show what I'm looking at. So join the Patreon /Rontowski. My website, more dates coming up. I'm coming back to see you, Utah. I'm coming back to the Pittman Theater in Lewis. All places. Anyways, let's get to it. So, the 90% of my readings, including my own, nobody knows where they want to live. This is huge right now. As you guys all know, even as we're taping this, I don't know if the situation is the same. I am living in Utica, and I have become very well aware of how important where you live is. As someone that travels all over, I have lost my mind in Utica. And so astrocartology is a way. Well, I'm going to let my new friend, Sanpriti. Did I say it right? Sanpriti?
You got it. You got it. Good job, Karen.
Thank you. Sanpriti Ireland, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, God, am I happy to meet you. So we're going to get to astrocartology. She's got a class coming out. She's got all kinds of stuff. But let's start with you, my new friend. How did you get involved in astrology or in this woo world? Were you always in it, or was there a thing that happened? How did that come about?
Oh, Karen, how much time do we have? As I'm sure, and as I know from, my own experience with folks, so many of us come into this intuitive woo, comprehensive left brain, right brain world, through, hard childhoods. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot to heal from. We'll just put it that way. And that healing story took me through actual a decade-long career of being a registered nurse. I wasn't really active on the woo frequency that I knew of, but there was something to walking into a patient's room and just knowing what the deal was, feeling what the vibe was, very, very sensitive. Left nursing because that sensitivity got me a couple of autoimmune diseases. But in the previous, or within my nursing career, I started practicing yoga, and just like very white lady, North Carolina yoga, but it opened something up in me. It opened my body, and it opened me to sensations and feelings and really those things that are really kind of locked away when you've been protecting yourself for 25 years, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so yoga led me to meditation, led me to acupuncture, and a bit of a spiritual awakening in 2016, 2017 that coincided with my autoimmune symptoms clearing up, and now I'm in remission for both of them. And I had my second child, and a friend said, I'm going to gift you a natal chart reading for him. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I had my first exposure to a reading, holding my little 2-week-old son in my arms, and getting to know him through his chart. And it was so cool to be able to have additional vocabulary with which to get to know this person and parent them and like be responsible for them. And so it kicked off this personal study that is now 10 years in. And then I was doing like readings for all friends and family and studying myself and taking classes with an emphasis on evolutionary astrology. And because I'm really interested in deep subjects and don't hold anything back. And let's get to the big picture as fast as possible. There's no such thing as small talk. And evolutionary astrology really like answers or allows for vocabulary and question asking on like the biggest, deepest, widest level in my opinion and for my taste.
And when you say evolutionary astrology, is that like just a different from Vedic or something like that?
Yeah.
Is it like just that's the name of it and it's different?
Yes. Yeah. So astrology has, I'm sure you know, astrology has a bunch of like, astrology is a language that has a bunch of different dialects. And the more, in my opinion, the more, the better, right? We need a lot of different people's individuated experiences of how and communicating how they see the world and how they feel the world. And so evolutionary astrology is informed by Vedic astrology, but through Jeffrey Wolf Green back in like starting in the 60s and the 70s. He channeled and he was taught and he brought through this very kind of big picture, evolution. It's about the evolution of consciousness and the evolution of individuals as they come into consciousness and greater levels of consciousness. And that's definitely my foundation. And it's very, these days, it's amazing watching the climate of consciousness shift to where some things don't even feel, they feel old when I read them, right? Even when they resonated 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, nowadays it's like, oh, that's a statement that is a reflection of patriarchy or, whatever other thing that, and so in my own, I think every practitioner, every astrologer has to hold themselves accountable to be okay with being as authentic as possible and not within their particular channeling of the information or of the education and the foundational understanding that they receive. And so when I talk about, when I do my readings with the foundation of evolutionary astrology, it is absolutely informed and there is definitely the structure there that feels really good and it resonates with me. And there's a lot of my own stuff in there. And like the original question is, when did you get into the woo? Well, really practicing astrology and doing it out loud for folks, which I've been doing since 2020, has allowed me space to develop my own intuitive muscles and that communication. And Karen, I don't have to tell you this, like, whoo, that feels good. That feels good to just open up and allow yourself to fully communicate when I didn't know that I wasn't before, just trying to stay in that out of into it, like that super materialistic science and rationalistic way of arguing and understanding the world. But when we let both sides flow, and I have a Pisces moon and Mercury, so I'm highly intuitive. It just feels like I almost like I took my bra off after the long day.
That's a great way to put it. So much you said in there, a couple of notes. There's some great information on the internet about how a lot of our spiritual beliefs and our religious beliefs and the way we should be is absolutely patriarchy. And it's absolutely pushing women back to that seen and not heard. And I keep trying to get somebody on the podcast, but there's something it never lines up. But they did some sort of a scientific test to see what was actually the highest or clearest frequency, and it was authenticity above positivity. And
I love that.
And so, I am very much over, not that it might all be good, but sometimes it's not good, or I'm just positive, sending out positive vibes. That somebody said something the other day, and I was like, oh, somebody said, I would never, and fill in the blank. And I was like, every soul is, I didn't say, but I was like, every soul is everything. And if you don't understand that you are capable of anything, you don't know yourself. And there's that false, I'm really great because I would never do that. That kind of thing. Yeah. So when you're talking about spirituality evolving, it is, when people get mad at me about anything, they go, well, that's interesting for such a quote spiritual person. And I'm like, somebody said that your spiritual podcast. And I was like, it's paranormal. I never said So anyways, I love that authenticity. All right. So you're getting into this and then you're kind of like, I can do this. And, and you turn it into a business.
Well, honestly, Karen, it was one of those things. It started like once you get the ball rolling, you can't shut up about it.
Yeah.
And I was driving the people around me just a little too crazy with it. So it's like I need to find an outlet. And it was COVID. And I had a teacher of mine of a yoga cohort who had a global presence on one call one day. Like this was like April 2020. We were deep into quarantine. And she was like, what gifts are you not sharing that we could really benefit from? And she's like talking to everybody. And I was like, that's the first thing that popped up. It's like, oh, this is something I like to talk about. It seems to land. And we all need a little extra care. We need a lot extra care right now with each other. And so I started doing sessions for all of these yogis in the cohort for free. And after a couple of months, I created a business out of it. And a couple of years later, a website came, and I started doing readings here in Charlotte. And it's been 5 years. And honestly, Karen, I finally feel like solid with it. I finally feel, we talk about authenticity. I finally feel like more comfortable than I ever have in my authenticity, and not kind of looking over my shoulder, waiting for somebody to tell me how I messed up or something like that. And that comes from, number one, I think age and experience and allowing can I curse?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Allowing all the fucks that I used to give just kind of float away and not really. Life's too short to censor things that don't need to be censored. But and allow, what that does is just allows for more love to flow, more authenticity. Because I'm a firm believer in whatever I am feeling urged to express is because, in part, there's somebody or somebody's out there who are wanting that, who are magnetizing that. They're looking for that. And so this is, self-expression and the business and being ourselves and as loud as possible isn't just a self-actualization fulfillment, in my opinion. It's because of connection. It's because people want to hear what we have to say. People want to see you on stage, Karen. People want to hear the podcast, and you feel that urge, and it connects you with them.
And it's sort of like, I'm going to use the word I said I don't like, spiritual algorithm. We're finding those that need to be found.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you're doing this. Everything's wonderful. First of all, tell everybody what astrocartology is and how you found it, or where you got your information.
So first it's astrocartography, but I love
cartography.
astrocartology too. I'm sure that's a thing. But it's just not on the websites. So astrocartography was it's been around in its purest form. It's what it is. I'm going to tell you like how I define it personally, and then we can kind of go into a little bit of history if you like. I define astrocartography as syncing up, finding the relationship and connection between our own language of astrology personally and how it relates to that of the Earth's. And and astrocartography is, it's available to everyone, by the way. You can plug in your natal chart information, your date of birth, your time of birth, your location of birth, and you can plug it into astrodienst.com or astroseek.com. And what will pop up is this map of the world and all of these lines. And some of the lines are just planetary lines, and some of the lines are relationship lines, called aspects, where say you've got like I've got my Venus squaring my Neptune, or excuse me, my moon squaring my Neptune. And that relationship between two planets it can be its own line. And so the purpose of which is to, just like you reached out to me and you're saying, and all of these people are like, I want to go somewhere. I want to get out, or I want to travel. I don't know where to go. Honestly, Karen, that is so exciting because people have developed a level of sensitivity and consciousness that they're pickier than they used to be. They didn't used to like ask these questions. We used to just kind of throw ourselves around because, the latest magazine or, TV show came out and said, oh, I want to go there. No, people feel that they feel different in different places. And they know, whether consciously or unconsciously, that there are places that their own evolution can be, parts of their own evolution can be really served
and stunted. And
stunted, yes, and not served, exactly.
I do feel like people have to go. A lot of people stay in the town they're born in, and I feel, even Carolyn Miss, when she teaches her medical mediumship class, which has nothing to, she says, move away from home. Just move away from home. And if you come back, that's fine. But yeah, I feel like a lot of just interesting when I do this psychic stand-up show, when I do it in bigger cities, there are thousands of questions. We have to end early because so many people have tarot questions at the end. In these small towns, people it's almost like they have they don't think they have any chance of changing their reality. Like they're just...
Exactly.
It's weird.
It's all homogenized. It's all... it's a tiny consensus, and there's just not the opportunity to bump up against something that is different, but that you have the chance to find out that is not threatening. I think in bigger cities, we've got a lot more availability of being confronted by different, maybe being triggered by it, but then like completing the circuit of like, oh, this was actually really good. This actually felt really good. And we just don't have that opportunity in the smaller towns. And I love, everybody needs to, get get out of the hometown, at least for a little while, go on what do they call, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The Amish do.
Ah, yes, where they let them
Rumspring us.
Yes, and I will say this: I don't know if it's just more hidden in cities. But the racism and the sexism here, I feel like I'm in the 70s where they're using words and saying things that in the 70s might have been okay. That was kind of the tipping point where we're like, maybe you shouldn't say that. And it's like my best friend is a black man, and the looks or when I say my friend Lamont, it's crazy. But anyways, we're off on a tangent.
No.
Amik, do this. We're gonna take a quick ad break and come back and learn more about Car. I've been saying it wrong. What is it?
It's okay. Astrocartography.
Okay, I was going to say astrocardiology. That's something different. That's when your heart disease shows up in your chart. We'll be right back, folks. Hey, everybody. After the Lori Bell episode, a bunch of you guys reached out and said, Karen, where are you getting mushrooms legally online? So I reached out to the company and I said, hey, would you guys like an ad on my podcast? And they said, hey, would you like to be an affiliate? And that was the day I learned what an affiliate was. So I am now an affiliate for mycholine.com. Folks, these are the real deal. This is not on Instagram or places where you see, hey, there's some lion's mane and you might feel better and you might not. These are real mushrooms. And they come in a liquid concentrate form with 4 great flavors. Blue raspberry is my favorite. If you are microdose curious, this is a fabulous way to give it a shot. They come with wonderful instructions. 1 to 4 squirts is microdosing or just relaxing. 5 to 8 is a little more of that party feeling. If you're out partying with people and they're all drinking, that's kind of where you want to be. And 8 and above does its thing. I am perfectly happy with 5 or 6. I haven't gone to 8, but I've read the reviews and people are very, very happy. So you want to go to mycholine.com, MyColean, and you're going to use coupon code Karen71367. All one word, all capital letters, Karen71367 for a 10% discount. Go get some mushrooms, enjoy, and send me an email and let me know how you like it. All right, we're back. So now you said anyone can do this and it's easy. And I am going to be honest with you. I have tried it. It is not easy. It is a lot of lines that make no sense. And I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be living offshore of Saudi Arabia. That's what I have seen in my chart.
You're an oil rig gal, Karen. You're an oil rig.
I am. We're going to need to make appointments to explain this. But for somebody that knows astrology, they might have a little easier time. Continue as you were telling us how to do it.
Sure. And thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah. Finding astrocartography is not hard. Interpreting it's you're learning a language. And that's what I tell my folks. That's what's on my podcast. That I see language, I see astrology as a language. And just like with any language, we have to be patient with ourselves. So what I do for folks when they book astrocartography sessions is I take them through, like I share my screen. I do everything remotely via Zoom and I share my screen. And they get to see me in real time going through the map, navigating the lines. We start with with what their questions are and what their desires are and what they're feeling and why they booked the appointment in the first place. And depending on the line, I can use my understanding of planetary embodiment. So basically, say my Venus line and my Jupiter line cross in Connecticut or Rhode Island somewhere. And my understanding of how Venus expresses herself through the chart and how Jupiter expresses themselves through the chart and the all these planets express themselves across a spectrum of, I call it like a spectrum of density in our astrological charts, meaning very, very ephemeral, very, very kind of spiritual, emotional expressions, but also very physical like through physicality, through tangibility, through like the mundane, right? We get both the magic and the mundane, the high vibrational and the low vibrational through these planetary expressions. And so somebody says, well, I'll just use myself for example. I, 4 years ago, I knew that I loved astrology and I couldn't shut up about it. So I wanted to make it a bigger part of my life and I wanted to share it with folks and connect with folks through astrology. So I found my Venus. I was looking for my Venus line and my Jupiter line because I know my Venus line has to do with connection and relationship and values and money and feeling resourced and feeling supported in that way. Jupiter is about wisdom and expansion but also travel and wisdom seeking, finding a fundamental relationship with natural law, all of that. And lo and behold, my Jupiter line and my Venus line, they intersect, they come together. So I've got two of these things that I really want to focus on to expand my business, but mostly just to expand my opportunity to rub shoulders with people, interesting people talking about interesting things, things that I like to talk about. And they intersect in Rhode Island. I've never been to New England. I've been to the city. I've been to New York. But I've never been outside of Manhattan. And I had no plan of going to, Rhode Island anytime soon. So I wrote down the coordinates of that point on the map. And I wrote them down on a Post-it note and I put that Post-it note on my bathroom mirror. And it stayed there on my bathroom mirror. It's still there 4 years later. I cleaned the mirror and I put it back on. And what I tell my clients is like, we don't have to physically interact with these lines, with these parts of ourselves as they are expressed geographically through the earth in order to get a benefit. Obviously, if I moved to bumfuck Rhode Island, where this was, then I probably would, the business would be 5 times as big. I'd probably have 5 husbands, all of that, right? Just abundance,
Nice.
abundance. If one would want that sort of thing. But obviously like moving and being on physically, that energy is so much stronger, but we can, I just want people to walk away from this understanding that
they don't have to get up and move.
They know it's not prohibitive, right? They don't have to get up and move. They don't have to, they're not, their power, their personal experience of this, whatever they're really looking for, transformation, love, abundance, money, success, healing, we can interact with these spots in the globe in very creative different ways. We can we can just watch a bunch of TV and YouTube videos about this area. We can create vision boards. We can create art with it. We can meditate on it. That sort of thing. So astrocartography, it starts with the reading. It starts with basic understanding, but the individual can take this in limitless directions, which I think is so, so cool.
Okay, so as someone living in a place they are not comfortable at all, and I will tell you this, there is just the air in Los Angeles or San Diego has been like, sometimes I'll be somewhere and I'll get like that feeling I had there and it takes me over. So that up here, I feel unbelievably uncomfortable. So would I put the coordinates of Los Angeles on my, and then I have a different question, on my mirror and just kind of connect to that?
So yes, you can. And like, been there, done that. Absolutely. Been there, done that. And so what we're doing is we're developing a relationship with a part of ourself, because, and it's very ephemeral part of ourself, but it's an expression, or it's a line that exists in the physical world somewhere else, but that magnetizes something and evokes something in us. So yeah, meditate on LA. Think about the beautiful things that you love about LA. Think about how think about I would get really clear, like this was me, I would get really clear on the sensations that are evoked in me when I think about LA. And then I would focus on developing those, on being on the lookout and developing those sensations where I'm at, if moving or traveling to LA was impossible at the time. And what you're doing is you're connecting yourself, you're opening yourself up, you're not shutting yourself off to the benefits that exist for you, right? They're just in LA. You're not you're actually making those connections. And I learned when I was in cardiology as a nurse, there we go with the cardiology again. That when when people have heart attacks, and our coronary blood vessels are the blood vessels that are shut off when we have a heart attack, somebody with like a lot of muscle failure right there, the heart will grow more blood vessels, more arteries, these little tiny arteries that branch over the old dead artery in order to promote connection, in order to keep that blood flow going. And I think we can do that too. I know we can do that too. And astrocartography can really help us, again, relate to things that feel very far away in a way that allows them to feel not so far away. They feel attainable. Like what you want from LA, you can begin to really nurture in yourself because it exists just in LA. And in some cases that will be the thread that people actually, it opens the door for them to move to that place, or it opens the door for them to meet a person from that place and develop a relationship with them. Like these methods of communication, or connection rather, they're infinite. And yeah, I can keep going.
Okay.
All
So,
day about that.
so also, see, I'm in a really interesting position in that when my mother passes, or in August of this year, I think whenever I get to leave Utica, I don't own anything. I'm going to fill my car and go. I just did this once. I went to stay with a friend in North Carolina and did all my gigs in Florida, flew back. It was so freeing. Like this, like I saw something on my chart that said freedom at all costs. And I think I'm going to have that tattooed on me, because I will never take care of another person. I will never, this was enough. 3 years. Some people do their life. Oh my God. I don't know how people do it, but I cannot. So when I read my tarot wants me to go to Nashville before Los Angeles. Okay. And I have spent very little time in Nashville, but it has a lot of key elements that I would like, which is a lot of show business, a lot of people, a lot of things, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, whatever you want to say. That Utica does not even know what those are. Could I come to you and give you 2 or 3 places and you look and see which one would be better for what? So it wouldn't be like which one is better. It would be, what are you looking for, Karen? Correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's most of, I actually 50-50. About half of my astrocartography sessions are, I'm feeling an urge. Can you give me information? The other 50% is, we got to move. I'm getting a job. I have a job offer in DC. What does that look like for me? I have another job offer in Seattle. What does that look like for me? Like they have definitive, just like you said. What we would do is I would pull your chart up and we would look at Nashville. We would see if anything, went through Nashville or was within the proximity of Nashville. And that would give us a jumping off point, depending on what the which planetary line or which aspect line it was. We could talk about that until the end of the day, right? We could talk about how this could show up, why it might be connecting to you right now, and what your soul kind of wants to get into next, and why Nashville. Does that make sense?
It does. So, and I actually think I have a line through upstate New York. I think, and so that might be I'm spitballing and I know nothing. That might be a Saturn line because it's slowing me down or something like that, right? Okay.
Yeah, well, or it could be Saturn because it is people move. Interestingly enough, folks move to Saturn lines so that they can learn things like discipline, so that they can learn how to they want to build a business, and they want to learn how to, in their view, like how to get their shit together. They feel that they require more discipline. They feel that they require more quote unquote adulting in their life. And so I've had a couple clients like actively seek out their Saturn lines for that and catching up with, and that's exactly what they do. So, I wouldn't be surprised if there was something Saturn or Pluto or Moon even for you where you are, because it is, you've had to stay in one place. You've had to care for another and put your needs and somebody else is in the picture. And that it feels gross, and it develops grit, and it develops discipline, and all of these things that do not feel great to the human, to the soul part of us, the higher, the eye in the sky part of us is like, oh yeah, this is interesting. This is amazing, right? This is fantastic. This is exactly what we're interested in. And then, you fill up with whatever you're meant to fill up. You experience what you experience. You shift what you needed to shift, and then you're off again.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are like, you just got to get out of there. And it's like, I don't think they understand. They don't go to see the parent every day that you know what I mean? It's hard to leave.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, it's be satisfying. But I always picture myself at the Comedy and Magic Club being so grateful and almost crying that I'm so happy that I'm back and my friends are there.
Yeah.
So if now I would need you to interpret, but if we do that chart, do we want to look where certain lines cross because that's more interesting, or is that too big of a topic for that question?
No. All that is, and that's more like that. Some charts have lines that cross and some don't. It's just all in how it lays out. But lines that cross or like run together very closely, we can see that these are themes that show up for the individual, that on the subjective level, like from the individual's perspective, these are two separate parts of themselves that feel like the same thing. They can't internally tell one thing from another, like the Jupiter and the Venus line that I was talking about before. It's hard because they run together, and the human experience of that is all we're getting, like one big thing. And so that's how I would that's how I talk to folks who have intersections, or and sometimes they, if they have one, they are excited about that because some of those intersections can be very creative and generative. And then others are like a Mars and a Pluto line intersecting. In one client a couple of days ago, I'm like, you could go there it would not be boring, right? It would be, there could be bar fights. There could be, there could be blow ups. You could win the Ironman. It just depends. It depends on the person. And it depends on, like you said, it depends on what they're into. It depends on what their kink is.
So, actually, you know what? We're almost at that. Let's hit that break, and then we'll come right back and see a few more things. Okay, here we go.
Hi, everybody. Do you love everything paranormal, supernatural, or otherwise spiritual?
Well, of course you do. You're listening to Paranormal Karen.
If you like some humor sprinkled into your morning commute or wherever you listen to your podcast, we don't judge. We've got the most fantastic paranormal podcast for you.
I'm Dana.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Megan. We'd love for you to join us at Supernormal on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcast fix.
Trust us, it's weird, it's wild, and a whole lot of fun.
I'm not weird, you're weird.
Okay. You're so good. I'm so glad to find out you have a podcast. I don't look very well. Just a real quick note for anybody that's dyslexic like me and doesn't read anything. There is an app called Speechify that is amazing if you're dyslexic, and it lights up the words you read as it reads it to you. It's pretty fascinating. So, but also, okay. So if somebody was like, I'm at this point in my life and I can work from home and I'm ready for a partner. Could you pull up their astrocartology and look at their Venus line?
Yes, absolutely. That would be the first thing that I would do. I would look up their Venus line, and I would I say their Venus line is like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, right? And which sometimes it happens. We have a lot of ocean and a lot of uninhabited land on our globe. So that would be the point where we would go into into the creative, right? We would maybe they're interested in getting as close as possible to the Venus line, and then just looking at, we can look at the Jupiter line for, greater, a sense of abundance, a sense of connection, a sense of expansion, and an increased sense of creativity, where at first blush, all we get is limitation, right? I can't move to the middle of the ocean. How am I going to find my partner? Because, and the great thing about partner work too, that partner out there has a Venus line too. So maybe you don't meet the partner, the future partner on your Venus line. You just are, working on your Venus. You are opening your heart. You're working on codependency stuff. You are playing with inviting more pleasure and more connection into your life and paying attention to your desires. We're all in the middle of Venus retrograde right now. We're all in that classroom. And lo and behold, wherever you're at, you meet somebody, do their astrocartography, you're on their Venus line. So it can absolutely work.
Wow. Is this new? Or has this been around as long as astrology?
Oh, great question. That was what I was going to start with. So astrocartography has been around for, quite a long time. Not quite as old as such as astrology, like Babylonian astrology, but there was a Persian polymath back in the 9th century by the name of Al-Biruni. He made significant contributions to both astrology and geography. And a lot of his work was on mapping celestial influences, like astronomical, astrological, and they were the same thing back then, influences to specific regions on the Earth. And it's considered the precursor to astrocartography. And then in the Renaissance era, it began to pique interest, but really in astrocartography as we operate within it now, especially with technology, that came from an astrologer named Jim Lewis, who introduced the world to astrocartography as we relate to it in the 70s. And he took those traditional astrological principles and combined them with modern mapping techniques. And he was really interested in the role of technology in just like the Persians were back in, the 10th century. Technology was everything to them. And so from like the 70s on, it's just kind of gained steam. And the more globalized everybody gets, the more interested people get in what a certain place is, how that is going to impact their own evolution.
So now, if it turns out the Earth is flat, are these maps wrong?
You know what? I'm gonna start another website.
Flat Earth
NCG for flat earthers.
I keep thinking, it's so funny because there's so many things changing so fast, like you said, like even in the woo-woo world, that I was like, what if the Earth is flat? Have you ever seen those, or the maps of what the world really looks like if we could see? Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, yes. Yes, Karen.
But it makes sense that if everything is connected, then where you put, like, I don't know how you do it, but if there was some sort of like food chart, you could figure out by the placement of your stars what food you're supposed to be eating or something like that. Because if it's all connected, which I feel like astrology is, we must be able to put it wherever we need it, correct?
Well, exactly. And there's another language that started in the 90s that's really caught on now, which I know human design.
Yeah.
And human design's like astrology on steroids, or like astrology under a microscope. Absolutely, astrology there. For every astrologer, there is a speciality, there is a specificity, and I love that. But human design takes a couple of different modalities, and you do talk about how you digest and the best environment for you, dependent on how you're made up. And I love working with beginners and beginner mediates. And so I'm very attuned to letting people know that it's okay to take it slow. Like these are languages that we can study for the rest of our lives and not complete, not even like master. And honestly, Karen, that's why I love it. I will never be bored. But getting back to your question, and my answer really is when I tell people, when you start stressing out about when this language starts giving you so many questions that it makes you feel stressed, that's when it's time to put it down for a minute. That's when it's time to go binge watch Schitt's Creek or something like that. It's time to, we're full, right? Our nervous system gets full and we kind of glaze over. And then we can give it a minute to integrate, and we can play with it. We can practice what we learned from the astrology, from the astrocartography, from the human design. And then when we start getting curious again, when we start getting thirsty again, that's how we know we're ready for more. And we can kind of go back in and gorge ourselves and study until we glaze over again. And that's how my own relationship with this lifelong learning of a language thing is. And that's how I see a lot of people having really balanced relationships, more harmonious relationships with this kind of thing.
I love how you said that. Because I'm the push it through Leo Aries combination. The harder you push, the better.
Yes.
Don't
I'm an
stop.
Aries too. I get it.
I get is somebody that's Aries and Aries. I don't know. All three guys on Ghost Adventures, the original three were Aries, and I was like, who could get along? No wonder they didn't last.
Who could get a word in edgewise? Oh
I
my
know.
God.
Right? So but exactly what you're explaining, that's how I feel about tarot. And even my tarot teacher says it takes lifetimes, because the other day I have looked at these cards. I have worn through cards from shuffling, like many, many decks, 20, 30 years. And the other day I was looking at the Five of Pentacles and I was like, he has his crutches, his wand. That's a new thing. Like that.
Oh, don't you love it, Karen?
Oh,
Don't you love just continuously being surprised after all this
yes.
time?
Yes. And I always thought astrology, but I don't know if you could do it this way, because that's the one, if I could go back in time, that's another one that I would have tried to start, because human design to me is just, I can't. It might as well be written in Russian. I don't.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but astrology, I was like, what if you just learned one thing a day? What if you learned one house a day or this, that? But it's that one is so much. It's knowing,
Well,
it's memorizing, it's interpreting, it's so much.
actually, you know the fast track to it, Karen? Oh, what's your Mercury? What's your Mercury in? Do you know?
Hang on, I have my chart here somewhere, because every once in a while someone will say something and I'll look it up. My Mercury is in Leo. Is that what? Yeah.
And yeah, and which house, which like pie piece?
It is in third.
Oh my God. Oh, it's so easy for you. It's
Is it?
gonna be so easy for you. Yes. Because so third house is the house that Mercury rules traditionally. So vibes are great there for like just learning the way that you like to learn. That's the thing. And that's where the Leo comes in. Is it's gotta be fun for you. It's gotta be fun. It's got to be motivating. It's got to be at your own pace. You have to call the shots. If you try to make it a habit, if you try to make it a chore, if you try to make it a self-care bullshit thing, you're not going to want to do it. You have to like make it fun. Like, having conversations, like what we're having, you're going to walk away remembering things about a language that you didn't know before because you were having a good time doing it.
It's funny because that Speechify app that now I can kind of read, and I read on the treadmill.
Yes.
I bought all these books that I thought I should read, and I only got through one, and then I was like, what am I doing? I want to read The Exorcist Handbook and the Book of Fairies. And now,
Yes.
I'm reading all this stuff. I'm like,
life's too short.
I know it is. And you know what? And it is true. As you get older, you do I do memory exercises, thank God, but you can't retain as much. But all right. So while we're on this topic, because first start with the list of different appointments people can make with you on your website. And I assume it does not have to be, you said Zoom. Yes. So you had a lot of stuff on your website.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I do natal chart readings. So that's where we dive into your birth chart. And this doesn't have to be like your first reading. Absolutely, if it's your first reading, get a natal chart reading. But a lot of people ask, like, I really want to know more about this specific part of my life, or I want to know about this specific transit. Like, Saturn's going to be moving into Aries, Neptune's going to be moving to Aries. I want to know about that. What do I book? Book a natal chart transit, because natal chart just means I'm talking to you about you through the language of astrology.
And sorry about the motorcycle. If everyone heard the noise in the back, the motorcycle came. It's the first sunny day.
Oh, I totally get it. I had a cat with the zoomies a little while ago, so I apologize for that. And then I have introduction to human design. So for people who who know not a lot about human design but are curious, they feel that kind of pull. Then I dip help you dip your toe in, and I help you navigate like the biggest bang for your buck sort of situation in a pool of a lot of information. And then I have reality creation sessions. I do some energy work called Kundalini magnetic resonance therapy. That is, again, it's like anatomy and physiology, AMP, but for where our energy meets our bodies. And it's great for folks trying to get into their personal power. It's great for folks healing trauma. It is great for folks wanting to get pregnant or wondering about connecting with soul babies and those kinds of stories. And then I have a synastry reading. So a synastry is you and a partner. We look at your chart together. It could be a romantic partner. It could be a business partner. It could be a kid, one of your kids. It could be a parent. But we look at two different charts and we put them together and we talk about the relationship. Those are fun. And then I have just a couple of like transit specific, because 2025 is so bonker balls. I've got, let's talk just about how this Venus retrograde, let's talk about how that Mars retrograde showed up in your chart. And that's like the Venus retro SOS, Mars retro SOS offerings. And and then of course the astrocartography.
I was just going to say, yeah. So yes, that was the one. That's the one we're talking about. That's the one where I could just go to that one and go, do I live here or there?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, you would go to astrocartography and it shows, it's a 90-minute session because the world is big. There's a lot to talk about. And then it brings up my calendar and you find the time that works for you and you pay me and we meet. You give me your information, your birth information. And then there's a section that's like, tell me why you're here. Like, tell me what you want out of this. Because that's my main intention. People come to these languages and these sessions for all the reasons in the world. And at the beginning of each session, no matter what it is, we take some time to clarify, where are you at today? Like, what do you want to walk away from having a bigger experience of, releasing, that sort of thing. And then I record the sessions so that when we're 30 minutes in and you've already glazed over, you don't have to worry about remembering, and take notes if you want. But these are really, this is big information, and we stay in the moment during the session. And then when you are ready to dive back in, you've got a recording, and then you've got an open door policy from me. You can email me, IG me, message me on Patreon anytime with any questions. I love answering questions.
That is fantastic. And also you have a podcast. Tell them about your podcast.
I have a podcast. Yeah. It's called Astrology and Stuff. Serious subjects taken not too seriously. And it's about 30 episodes. It's great for beginners and beginner mediates. And then I have a connected Patreon to it. Just search for Astrology and Stuff Pod on Patreon. And there I do weekly episodes on the transits at hand. I thought they were going to be like 20-minute mini-sodes. No, they're never under 45 minutes.
Wow.
45 minutes. They're closer to an hour because there's just so much to say. And I have, that's for like the $5 tier. And I have free content on the Patreon. I have new moon and full moon live streams that I do with the KMRT, with that energy work of us. Because really that brings me to the last little bit. When you were talking about engaging with astrology and how to learn it, and I asked where your Mercury was, some people, a lot of people, we only so much can go in through the brain, through the Mercury, through the computer. So much of astrology is feeling it out. So much of it is learning where it shows up in the body, is living through transits, understanding that we're in a Venus retrograde, and us paying attention to what comes up and how we feel, and how do we feel motivated and what feels sad. And that's embodied astrology. That's us living it out. And that's really, the more we can connect the stuff that we learn about in the brain to experiences in the body, the faster we grok it, like the more we get it. Does that make sense?
It does. And also, two more things. You're going to teach everybody go to her website, because by that time you may have a astrocartography.
Yes, astrocartography.
Photography, class up, correct?
Yes, I'm making, as we record this, I am putting together an astrocartography 101 class, and it's going to be a nice little affordable if you're wondering but you don't want to book a session yet, if you have booked a session and you want to kind of keep the wheels greased, it's going to be a great resource for simplifying and making it a lot more accessible, because I think it's still very mysterious to people.
Yes. And also another thing too, you should come back on sometime and talk about autoimmune, because I feel like that's literally becoming a spiritual issue, like you said, empath stuff. So I would love to cover that.
I cannot wait. Thank you, Karen.
Yes. And last question, which is probably like a 4-hour question, if you have, if you can say in 1 or 2 lines, have you looked at the astrology of the United States? Are we going to make it out?
Oh, not as we started. No, but that's like the whole point. Like, the US is like, we went through our Pluto return in 2022, 2023, I believe. And that's like 250 some odd years. That's enough for any civilization to stay the same. Like, we haven't added a freaking amendment to our Constitution and I don't know how long. So like, it's just rigidity. The people, we're here. Of course we are. The communities, the connection, the things that matter. Yes, absolutely. Nothing's gonna destroy that. But what we're feeling and what we're watching right now is people being forced to come into a greater sense of value of the things that are sustainable, of the things that are more important than what perhaps culture at large and the general consensus has told us that we should care about.
Okay, good.
Does that make sense?
It does, but as long as I know some things are going to change, because I am looking
Things
to go
are already
to
changing.
Yeah, but I feel like right now not in the right way, but maybe that's the flushing out.
It is absolutely the flushing out. And I'm listen, Karen, like, full disclosure, I've got all my passports.
Thank you.
I've got all my passports just in case. But because instability, like, in order for revolution to happen, in order for this is rebirthing, and birth is chaotic. Birth is incredible and it's beautiful, but it's chaotic.
Okay.
So
yes.
people got to get safe so that the chaos can do what it needs to do. But yeah, no, things are never going to be the same.
Good. Well, I hope that's a good thing. Okay. So your website is Astro. You spell it
Geo.
Geo.
It's okay. Astrogeomantica.
Okay, I forgot
That's fine.
It's
okay.
Sanpriti. I said it right?
You did.
What a pleasure you are. Oh my God. Thank you for coming on. So everyone, I will have everything correct in the show notes, and please go. Also, give your Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and TikTok now. Sanpriti Life. So that's my name, SAN as in Nancy, PRITI Life, Life.
All right. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. This has been a pleasure.
Great. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thanks, Mike at Uno Rising Media. Folks, this year is, the year is wild. The podcasts and the new guests are fantastic. So stay tuned and thank you for listening.
Paranormal Karen.